Oh, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Young Pastor Network podcast. Today, I'm here with two of my friends. One I've met in person, one I have not. Arce always reminds me that we've never met in person, and I've spent ample time with Anthony Lucarini. So again, we've got Anthony Lucarini, who is a pastor down in Bluffton, South Carolina. A beautiful spot. If you've never been, go. It's right next to Hilton Head. It's unbelievable. And we've got Jordan Arce, who put me onto Tom's River, and I hope one day to experience Tom's River. It looks like a vibe. He's a lead pastor there at a Wellspring Church, and I'm excited for you guys to listen to the conversation today. I feel like the lane that we're gonna stick to today is gonna be talking about what ministry felt like and what we feel like it should have felt like, or things we should have been more intentional about or more open about in conversations in our 20s. Anthony spent his entire 20s at the same church, still at that church. Pastor Jordan, he spent his 20s at the same church, and then now he's a lead pastor at his home church, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's been cool to watch their journey. It's cool to have been connected. I've had really deep conversations with both of them. Both of them are two of the most pastoral people I have met, and I believe they're going to bless you today. So can you guys just start this episode by talking about how different you act, you speak, you think, and you lead slash pastor now versus in the first like 3 to 5 years of being in ministry?
Jordan, you
Either
got
one
it.
of you can go.
Yeah, it's so much different. I think, being starting out as a church intern, church resident, first time youth pastor, you're like 22, 23, 24. Now being 30 as a lead pastor, like everything has shifted. I think the biggest thing when I think about what has shifted in my leadership style is going from having a really strong covering to being the covering. Like when you're like, man, when you're like 24 and you're just doing whatever, you're failing all the time, which is a beautiful season to like, man, we put a hole in the wall last night at youth ministry, like I preached about sexuality and I said a joke I shouldn't have said. Parents are so mad. Like you think about those moments and you think about your covering that's shielding you from all of that.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, Anthony knows this too. Like now he's an executive level leader. I'm a lead pastor. Like all of a sudden, everything that I do is my fault.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know how many complaints were being done about me because it never got to me. Because my pastor was shielding me from all of them,
Oh,
And I would get calls from my pastor. He's like, "Hey, like, remind me what happened last night at you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it was nothing." And like he was protecting me from so much. So I think like the further you get into ministry, I think the responsibility that you carry and the weight that you carry, you start to actually feel it and recognize like, man, the decisions that I make hold a lot of weight. And it's not about it, if this kid eats a Big Mac or if this kid does, whatever. If we put a hole in a wall, but like now you're like, man, like, the decisions that I make, like I'm paying people's payroll and check based off of the decisions that I make.
Yeah.
Like we're paying rent because of the decisions that I make. Like the weight gets much larger, and man, like if I allow this person to teach at my youth ministry, if I allow this person to teach in this setting and they say something off, like I have to take the shots for this person because now they're under my covering.
Yeah.
So I wish that I understood and respected my covering much more when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think when we're young, like we're like, I just read this in this book. Like I'm reading Eugene Peterson. He said that, da 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 da. And like your church is doing it differently. And you don't realize like your pastor is taking shots for you while you're like taking shots at him from underneath as well.
oh my.
You know?
That's good.
And he's
Dang.
covering you. So I think when I think about my early 20s, like I had problems with everybody who was my leader.
Yeah.
My pastor,
Sadly, yes.
yeah, my pastor Narup, who I love, he's my older brother, my pastor. Like I got a new overseer one time, and he told him, he's like, "Best of luck, Jordan's hard to manage." And I remember like my first meeting where my now overseer was like, "Yeah, Pastor Narup told me you're hard to manage," and I'm like, first of all, I hate that because I don't think I'm hard to manage. But secondly, like I was, because I was just like, man, I got heavy opinions, I got strong vision, like I want to push forward, and I didn't realize that covering was protecting me.
So good, dude. I'll shift it a little bit to the personal. I think when you're young, you're hungry, you're ambitious, you're trying to create, you're trying to run a million different directions. We were talking about that earlier a little bit. And now this season of like, how can I really delegate? How can I really hand off? How can I create
Yep.
margin? And it's
Yep.
margin so I can still do other things, but I think the value, the weight, it shifts. We're like, I don't know. I think when we're young and hungry, we're thinking a little bit about ourselves, if we're being honest. What can I
Oh
start?
yeah.
What can I create? What can
Yeah.
I build? And now it's who can I invest in? Who can I
Mm.
sit with? Who can I
Shoo.
shepherd? Who is struggling right now that
Yep.
in my space, obviously I'm next gen pastor right now. We've got some of our kids ministry, students, young adults. So I want to make sure that I'm not stepping on toes. Like if it's a leader in the student ministry, I want to make sure that my student pastors, like they got first dibs. Like if they have the connection, if they have the relationship, they're like,
Yes.
hey, that's
Yes.
you. But I'm creating and delegating to say, hey, who can I minister to? Who uniquely needs me in this season? It's less about doing and creating. As we were kind of preparing for this, I was thinking through um moment when I was like 25, and we've always had this cool event. Both of you guys have spoken it. It's called Movement Night, and it's an
Yeah.
opportunity for
It's
us to
great.
bring our friends in to come preach. And I remember we had somebody who was pretty influential. Um, it was like my first year. I was still determining how do we create qualifications for bringing people in. And at that time, literally, it was, hey, who's a big name? And
Mm.
yeah, there's no selfish
Yeah.
ambition in that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Not at
Now
all.
it's like, hey, who's a friend that I trust? I said it when both of you guys stepped on the stage. Hey, we only invite family to speak on the stage, and then I introduce you guys as family. But back then it was like, hey, we've got this name. Isn't it awesome? Your kids actually don't even know who it is, right? But
They don't care. No, I'm
they
just kidding.
literally don't care. Um, but this guy, he was at a camp we were at, was able to connect with him. Great guy. So I'm not throwing shade at all. But I sat with him in a coffee shop, and one that I brought both of you guys to. It's part of the gig when you come down, part of the stop.
Yes.
We're at Corner
Great
Break,
host, by the
and
way. Great
hey,
hosting.
Great
thank
host.
you. Well, I
Hey,
love you
but
guys.
now Origin went from Savannah to
It's
Hilton Head.
true.
I'm telling you
It's
right now,
true.
if you go to Hilton Head, you have to go to Origin
Yeah,
Coffee.
amen to
Unbelievable.
that. Amen to that. We're sitting there, and I asked him this question, and I said, hey, as I'm watching guys like you've got kind of your main ministry, or you've got a ministry that you're serving in, but then you kind of have your own deal. And I said, help me discover and determine my gift to the Big C Church. Which, is that wrong? I don't know. I think right now we're sitting in that with this podcast of like, okay, what have I learned? What have I experienced that I can give away? When you're asking that at 25, I didn't know anything. I had nothing to give away. I had stuff to gain, and that
Yeah, that's
became more of,
good.
okay, what am I trying to
That's
gain out
good.
of this? So I think when it comes to when I was a young leader compared to in this just being a seasoned leader, um, man, I think there's a little more clarity around like, hey, what is my role as a pastor? And it starts as a local pastor to the people that
Hmm.
I am shepherding. And
Yep.
yes, if it works outward, that's really great. If I'm able to serve at a ministry outside of our context, great. You guys have both, again, had that opportunity to serve at your church, but then I've invited you outside of your
Hmm.
context into mine. Praise God. Um, but I think, again, a lot of what I do now, a lot of that maturity that's taken place has said, hey, I need to start with my people. I need to shepherd my people. I need to sit with my people and smell like my sheep.
Hmm.
And out of that, I'm gaining experience. I'm
That's
understanding
good.
ministry at a deeper level. I'm understanding people and the struggle that people walk through. Therefore, that then serves every other part of my ministry.
Yep.
It's not
Yep.
the other way around. So,
It's it's interesting because both of you guys said this, and it's interesting because your early 20s is around passion, and as you get into your 30s, it's around palate. And it's like
mm,
my palate has learned that I like this. I'm going to chase after this. I'm going to build this. I don't know about y'all, but if I'm going to go out, I mean, well, how big my family is, you know what I mean? It costs me a bag to go to Chick-fil-A or Chipotle. But you know what I mean? Like if I'm going out with my wife somewhere, I'm not going to a place that I do not like what's on the menu. Do you
mm,
know what I mean? And I feel like in your early 20s, you there is a responsibility there too. I don't think that you should avoid this. You need to be challenged by your church. You actually need to be humble enough to go serve another area in your church, like help pick up. Do you know what I mean? Wait, help see something through to the finish line. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
To help your church like move forward. But as you get older, you're able to understand how much better, do you know what I mean? And fruitful it is for people and your church if you have on your plate, do you know what I mean? What
Yeah.
is inside of you as a gifting and an anointing there. So, um, I really love that. I appreciate your guys'
Let me say something to that too. As you're saying, I believe those years, like kind of like that
they were
idea
huge
of,
for me, dude.
yeah, no, and I think
Like,
absolutely, absolutely, that's a formation season. Have you ever been around those people that just say, "This is just who I am," and like that's just an excuse to
yeah,
lack of growth? I believe as a young pastor, young leader, you can't just say, "Oh yeah, this is who I am." Especially, I mean, you should never say that. I believe we should always be growing. But when it comes
yeah,
to
I
your
agree.
your leadership, your what you believe you're good at, I heard a friend of ours say that your 20s are for discovery. Like you're discovering
Mhm.
who you are. You're discovering
Yes.
your gifting, and sometimes that's in areas that like you're not even considering. I remember they put me on stage for hosting, and I hated that because I would rather preach a 30-minute message because you
Right.
Yep.
got room for fluff than a 3-minute hosting where you have to get it right and it's all pointing
Yep.
to the next thing
Yep.
and you're
Yep.
talking, yeah, like it was in those seasons of like I hated that, didn't want to do that, was asked to do that, but it refined my communication.
Yeah.
There's so many areas that again, I don't think as a young leader, you don't know your niche yet. You don't know
Yes.
fully what you're good at. You are still being discovered. It's still being developed in areas that you might not want yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember speaking of that, Anthony. I
That's
remember
good.
right like the 2 weeks after I got married, I had a ministry trip in like Spokane, Washington that I was so excited for. And I was gonna go for with my wife for the first time on a ministry trip. And it ended up being the ministry trip that I realized that I wasn't an evangelist. And
Oh,
I
dude, we talked on the phone like 3 days later. Do you remember that?
yes, we
Oh my God,
talked
that
about
was
it.
the most impactful conversation I've ever had with you, too, personally. Like for me,
Mm,
that was incredible.
Like I realized that when you're young, you're just ambitious and you're looking at like all the guys that you want to be like,
Hmm.
you
yeah.
know. And for us, like it's really hard to not be comparative also. Like we were just talking about the fact that like Graham Furtick's like 18 getting bigger speaking engagements than any of us have ever gotten in our lives.
Yeah.
And may
Yeah.
ever will ever. You know what I mean?
and
Right.
Like it's okay.
and there's something
Highly
beautiful about
likely.
that. But I remember being like 25 and I'm like, how's Noah Herring getting booked everywhere? And I'm like, I love this guy. He's so humble. And I'm like, wait a minute. The older that I get, I'm like, wait, I had a few opportunities that would have opened more doors, and I realized I wasn't an evangelist.
Yeah, you're
It's
not
because
graced for it.
I'm not graced for it. My heart broke that I left the kids that I just preached to. I
Mm,
remember I spoke to a room of like 400 kids in Spokane, and like we did an altar call about suicidal ideation that night specifically. All these kids come forward. Me and Ashley are praying over all of these kids on the floor, and then we're like, wait, our flight leaves soon.
mm,
And people that our hosts are like, hey, you got to get out of here. You got to catch your flight. And we're like, what do we do with all these kids that are on the floor crying? And in that moment, I'm like, I can't get on a plane. Like, I don't think I'm cut out for evangelism because I didn't have enough time to invest. Like, I want to see where this kid's at in 3 months.
yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, that's the heart of a shepherd.
Yeah.
And I had my ambition told me I was somebody that I wasn't. And
Mm,
like still to the day
Sheesh.
I get opportunities to go speak places, but now I'm realizing like the way that I take those opportunities, I'd rather go speak at a small school in Florida, which I do every January. I'd rather go back every single January and speak at the same school and know the same kids. And I've seen kids now that were in 8th grade and now they're graduating high school. And I love that because I'm friends with them on Instagram. I'm checking in on their lives. Like,
mm,
and I'm like, I have a pastor's heart. That's what God graced me for, to
yeah.
walk,
Yeah.
you know.
I remember. So our conversation, Jordan. I hope you should remember this. I called
I
you.
was in the car moving to New
Yeah,
Jersey. Yeah.
yeah, you were, and you were like, "Hey, I got ample time." Do you know what I mean? Right now, you were like, "Call me," and I said, "Hey, man." Like sometimes the way I talk, my wife tells me this all the time, but like I find it hilarious that I'll say things like I'll call Jordan and be like, "Am I an evangelist or a pastor?" And you're like, "I don't I don't know, dude." You know what I mean? You're like, "I don't know, bro. You're probably calling the wrong person." Uh, but in that, you're like, "Yeah." So funny enough, do you know what I mean? I was just at a conference speaking, and there's this kid that came up to me, and we're both weeping, and I didn't want to leave that moment because I felt connected. Do you know what I mean? To be a part of the outcome of God's hand on his life. And you left me with this simple thought, which is you're an evangelist if you feel called to bring revelation. You know what I
Mm,
mean? You're a pastor if you feel called to bear and build and be a part of fruit. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
Like the outcome, the wholeness of an unbeliever to a believer. Do you
Right.
know what I mean? To a mature Christian.
Right.
And I'm not joking, Jordan. I have thought about that since that conversation, because I'm like, oh my Lord, that is a much easier thing for a young pastor. Because y'all know this, we can be like, our title can be pastor because that's all the church knows how
Right.
to call us. But we're young, like Anthony said, we're hungry, we're ambitious, we desire to be used by God. And your ministry may not be growing locally, but your ministry may be growing globally. Do you know what I mean? Or you know what I mean, through other churches and platforms and stuff like that. And yet you may desire. It's so funny. You may desire to go out and preach all this stuff, but like you said, your grace is for the local people in your community. So I think that that's a really interesting thing. Like I have thought about that as well. It's like, man, like why do these people get these opportunities? And the why is not like a jealous. It's like
Right.
it's a Lord, like reveal in me what's
Mm.
holding me back. Is it sin? Do you know what I mean? Is it
Right.
practice? Is it connection? Whatever. And then yet, like, it's so funny. Like this morning, and I would love your guys' just input and conversation around this. This morning, I'm working on my writer because I continue to have people ask me to come preach, and I'm now at a spot that I feel comfortable with, like an amount. Do you know what I mean? That I'm like, for me to leave my family,
Mhm.
okay, for me to take time off of work
Yeah.
and come invest in you and your ministry and your people, like this is what I prayerfully thought over. Do you know what I mean? That would be a benefit to me, to my wife, to my children, and to our savings account. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this was the first time I've ever put this on my writer, but I said, here's a list of people on my team that if budget doesn't allow for this, these people,
Mm.
do you know what I mean, will make as big of an impact to you, your life, and your ministry, do you know what I mean? And be in the guidelines of what your lead pastor, your church, your budget, do you know what I mean, has. And there was so much freedom for me this morning that I think I would have like just mulled over for way too long. Like, even 3 years ago, that I'm like, it's okay if I give opportunities away
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
people for them to go either operate or find. Because funny enough, all the 4 people I have on this list right now are all in their 20s and are all being used by God locally and outside,
Mm.
you know what I mean, of their personal ministry or their church ministry, and finding like a grace in their personal ministry and finding out how God wants to use them. And so I feel like such a freedom there that I'm like, God, it's okay if you give and release. Like, don't I didn't even plan to say this, but like in my early 20s, I wouldn't want anything to be released. Like, give it all to me, everything.
Right.
I can handle it, although I couldn't handle it. Now it's like, it's okay, Lord, if I'm just a pastor, like, because that is like, there is something so special about a leader's ability to go, what you give me, Lord, doesn't just feed me.
Mm.
It feeds those that desire to be connected to me as well. And I am humble enough to go, I don't have a grace for everything. And I may have a grace to go preach at people's ministries, but I may not be graced for that weekend. I may not be graced, do you know what I mean, for that event. But I guarantee you I have people that can make as big of an impact. But you know this, sometimes people can, do you know what I mean? They've got other people and they might want to go out, but I do find it interesting that we just talked about that, and then I was just dealing with that this morning, that I think that more people should be open to bringing in people that they may not know, do you know what I mean, but are connected to people that they do know or want to come into their ministry because they're more fruitful and beneficial to the church.
Mm.
Like, if you're talking about being able to bring in someone at this amount versus someone at this amount, do you know what I mean? And the gap in which what will be deposited in your ministry is, do you know what I mean? Like this, then, like, choose the thing that will be very impactful. Do you know what I mean? For both and you're a lead pastor, Jordan, Anthony, you're someone who oversees 3 massive budgets. Do you know what I mean? Both of y'all would agree in your early 20s, there was no care about that on your
Sure.
own person, your own youth budgets or whatever. You're like the biggest name, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we can bring in here so that they can preach and I can hang out with them. You know what I mean? So, and I didn't even mean to go off on that, but I just thought it was really interesting, Jordan, that you brought that up. And I was literally working on that this morning, that I'm like, Lord,
Yeah.
please, please, please let my life be a pass through. Like,
Mm.
even y'all know this, both of y'all, like, there's been people that y'all connected to through our relationship, or and vice versa. Like, there's people I've been connected to through y'all. It's like, that would not have been my position or my posture or even my heart 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It would have been, Lord, give me everything because I can handle it all. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't need anybody. Now I'm like, I just want people around me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just want to do it with people like Jordan and Anthony, where I'm like, dude, I can look to my right and to my left, and these people are not gonna let me die. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
they're going to be with me through every season, good, bad. Do you know what I mean? Mountaintop fruit, and valley lows, man, valley dries. So,
Dude, and I would
I,
just say to that too. I mean, I was talking earlier about like the qualifications for who we bring in to speak, and that has shifted from like, all right, who's blowing up right now? And I believe
mhm,
there is still a um, qualification of like, all right, whose life is God's hand on right now? And if God's hand is on their life, then like, how cool would it be if God aligned them to be here and
yeah,
for them to serve our
mhm,
people? Like, I think that's always amazing. But I think that it has shifted from I think we bring in probably more pastors than evangelists
yeah,
because we like bringing people in multiple times. Because our kids, our students, that's the context there. Like they love getting to know those speakers. They love getting to follow them on Instagram and following back
mhm,
up. And I hear all the time, like, oh, I was messaging this person and DMing this person, and like they love that. But it really
Mhm.
became, hey, who can we run with? Um, you talked about you guys have never actually hung out in person. I've got to hang out with both of you guys in person, mostly because of this event and the fact, Thomas, that you moved to my town. That helped too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I did.
but it really became just like what you're saying, Thomas, of like, all right, who can we bring in that's going to be our friend, a
Yep,
friend to our
yep,
ministry, a friend to
yep,
our church, and a personal friend that
yep,
I can run with in the next season. And now
yep.
I would say some of my best ministry friends and real life friends, that's a funny distinction. I hope they run together, have come from those things of an open door of like, hey, let's do ministry together.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if it's a fit, if the glove fits, then hey, that's a bad reference. If it's a good fit, then we're gonna be friends for a long time and we're gonna run together.
Yeah, let's be reminded that me, Anthony, and Thomas were supposed to be in Dallas together last year, and me and
I
Anthony
couldn't.
met, and Thomas told us the
I
day before
bailed.
that he wasn't coming.
I
I'm pretty sure he
bailed.
was he was supposed to rent the car as well. I'm pretty.
Yeah, you're dude. We were supposed to be sharing a hotel room.
We were sharing a hotel room. We had a car ready to go. And so in my mind, I've met Thomas like 3 times, but
Right.
he always reminds me that we've never met.
Yeah. We were
But
this
we've been on the
close.
calendar. Yeah.
Oh my
We
gosh.
weren't graced for it, as Thomas is saying. But I think really what the word I feel like that is missing right now is just assignment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like the word that's been missing in this conversation is assignment. Like I thought that I was assigned to everything that every pastor that I followed was
Yeah.
assigned to. And I think the older that you get, the Lord kind of clarifies for you what you're assigned to in what season.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, all three of us, we have families, we have people we're called to love, and that became a large assignment in your life that took
Mhm.
away from your desire to start a podcast every other week, and your desire to travel, to be
Yes.
at every conference, and your desire to try to build your speaking ministry and whatnot. And those assignments became less because other assignments became louder and larger.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I want to be a pastor. I want to be an evangelist. I want to be a podcaster. I want to write a book. I want to do all these things. And then you're like, wait, I only have so much time. And Lord, what am I actually called to? What's my actual assignment in this season? And when you really submit that to the Lord, like I think all three of us have seen how the Lord really, you're asking God, what is my assignment? And He's very clear about it.
Yeah.
And so I know my assignment. I know like I have so many desires in my heart that I'm also like, okay, this isn't the season for that. I'm
Mhm.
building a small local church. I took over a church in a basement and at the Jersey Shore with Snooki and Pauly D. And like we're my
Hey,
assignment is much
celebrate what's happening. Please let the people listening know. Like, walk us through what has happened since you've taken over.
yeah, me and my wife moved out. We were very happy. I was a very happy youth pastor in Denver, Colorado. I was hanging out with all my friends, had all the room for all the extracurricular
Yep.
assignments that I wanted.
Mm.
And the Lord just ripped us out of Denver and really really lovingly, we left our church that we loved, our pastors that we loved, position kids, everything that we loved, to come back to my hometown in New Jersey at the Jersey Shore, which is where I'm from. My wife's from Manhattan. And the Lord just brought us back to Jersey to build a church that was falling apart. That I was a youth intern here, 8, 9 years ago. I got fired from this church, and now I'm the lead pastor of this church. And speaking about how your 20s and 30s are different, um, and since we've been here, we took a church, we were probably at around 100 people when we showed up. Now we're running about 500 weekly. And I would say, we're at about 105% capacity on a Sunday
I
morning.
was about to say the only reason you ain't bigger is because you ain't got no more room. You
We
can't
have
do four
no, we have
services. You
no.
ain't got the staff.
I'm
None of
gonna, I'm gonna die if we do a fourth service, because
crazy,
our
man.
critical mass is so small that I'm the only full time staff member still. So being the only full time staff member, I'm like, I can only preach 3 times on a Sunday because all week I'm so busy doing so many
Mhm.
things. So like, yeah, I know guys who preach 6 services. I was talking to a great pastor down in Houston who does 6 services a weekend, and he's like pouring into me, mentoring me, and I'm like, what are you doing throughout the week? He was like, hanging out with my
Nothing.
family, writing my sermon, and then preaching on the weekend. And I'm like,
Okay,
dude, like,
it was wrong, but y'all know what I mean. I'm being stupid. Like,
yeah, no, like he's leading vision, he's leading his organization, he's leading his family, and he's preaching on Sunday. He's like, yeah, 2 days a week, I'm just writing my sermon from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
yeah,
I'm like, dude, I'm like squeezing sermons
Right,
out of me
right.
right now. Like, I got an 8 hour window. I'm pumping sermons out. Um, and so, yeah, where we're at right now, man, we're excited for what the Lord's doing. We're shopping for a building right now,
yeah.
which is I'm an entrepreneur all of a sudden. I'm a real estate agent all of a sudden.
Exactly.
I'm meeting with meeting with lawyers and financiers and all these things, and
And
I'm
you're
like,
like,
I'm a preacher, bro. I don't
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
you're like, I just work here, bro.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know. Is this a good building? Yeah, let's do it. And they're like,
someone
I
like
got
put before me
keys.
like they were like, we need you to sign a 1.2 million guarantor last week, and I was like, first of all, what's that? They're like, we just want you to guarantee that you'll pay us 1.2 million if we go with this property at the end. And I was like, and like when I write my name, what does that mean? That they were like, that means you're liable for 1.2 million. I'm like, bro, this church is paid. Like I make less money as a lead pastor than I did as a youth pastor, bro. Like, I'm not signing your seat for 1.2 million. You know.
We're like, is this a faith agreement? Like, we
Right,
Yeah.
right,
believe
right.
that God, because I'll sign
I,
that.
I
Yeah.
already marched. I marched 7 times around this property. What do you mean I need to sign the dotted line?
Circle maker. You're like, I did what Mark Batterson asked me to do.
Right.
Circle maker. I drew the circle.
The trumpets have sounded. That's our building, bro. I don't know
Yeah.
what these
We're like,
documents mean.
they were like, you know what? Actually, we got to go find another property. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like, this is probably not the one.
The Lord told us this was ours.
Is that not good enough for you?
Yeah.
They're like, no, we need the Lord to provide. My favorite is like people who, is just random, but like, they would be like, yeah, we need the Lord to provide like, a loaves and fishes kind of miracle for you here, and you're like, oh God, okay. But
Yeah, you
it's
tell that to like a
yeah.
secular like real estate agent. You're like,
Right.
yeah, we're really relying on the Lord to
Mm-hmm,
multiply during this
mm-hmm,
upcoming capital
mm-hmm.
campaign. They're like, you got $1 million or no? Like,
Right.
what do you
And
got?
they're like, that's cool. So like, what's the capital? You know
Right,
what I
Yeah.
right.
mean? You're like, the capital C Church? Yeah, absolutely. They're like,
Amen. The church is one of the largest industries in the world. We have
Mm.
millions and
Right.
millions of dollars.
oh my gosh, I love that.
Dude,
Oh
I love something. I want to ask even Anthony a question. Like Anthony went from being like an incredible youth pastor to now
yes,
overseeing
honestly, one of
incredible
the
youth
better I've been
pastors.
around. Yes.
Mm.
And now I'm coaching one of his youth pastors. Who's
Mm-hmm.
coaching? Who's coaching Matthew?
Harrison.
Harrison.
Harrison's coached him for years, man. It's
Yeah,
been
I'm coaching
unbelievable to
JJ.
watch him.
These guys are amazing.
yeah.
What's the shift like for you seeing those guys step in your shoes?
Yeah, no, it's fun. Love watching them thrive. I believe in them. I think it starts there where like that just fills so many gaps where like there's things that I don't have to micromanage because I trust their character. I trust that they hear from the Lord. I trust the skill set they have. I know that it's still being developed as young, talking about 20-year-olds, young pastors, like they're still being developed and I get to watch that before my eyes, but I also get to speak into that. They both ask a lot of questions, as both of you know. They've asked each of you questions.
Yeah, they
Um,
do. They're
so
good.
when pride
Yeah.
is out the window, when it's not this, I know what I'm doing, and when there's, I don't believe, um, Jordan, you talked about kind of looking upward on the org chart and just being frustrated. I feel like they trust the vision that I've laid out in front of them,
Yeah.
and they trust me. Like there is such a brotherhood between my office and theirs, just from being in the trenches with them. So I think going from being with them to being over them has been such an easy thing because I know their world very well. Um, so again, I think a combination of those things has been great. Here's been my it's not even the harder side. It's just something to identify and articulate. I started with this ministry when it was under 100. It's now overseeing, I mean, those guys have built it from what I had it at maybe 2 something to now average 3 something on a Wednesday night. It's crazy.
Hmm.
It's awesome.
It's
Um,
amazing.
but I've built steps 1 through 8, and they've come on for steps 5 through 8. So
Hmm.
I think what I've been doing in this summer, um, I've walked them through, hey, here's what I did culturally to build a strong culture that you are now sitting in to make sure that you can maintain it and build on top of that. That's not to say,
Yep.
hey, I did it right and you're not doing it right. It's to say, hey, here's the why behind the what. Here is why we do a pre-service huddle this way.
Mm,
Here's the unique elements
it's
here's
good.
where I got them from. Here's been the revelation that I've received way back then that started a very practical piece, very practical one I'll give away right now. This has been an example of what I'm sharing with them. You guys, hopefully you saw this when you were with us, but in our pre-service huddle, um, we walk into the auditorium and that's where the huddle happens. I'm the one holding
Hmm.
the door and I am dapping up or hugging every single volunteer that walks
Hmm.
in. And
Yep.
that comes from a book by Daniel Coyle, Culture Code. It talks about Greg
Hmm.
Popovich. And Popovich, when he was coaching the Spurs, he had a
They
handshake.
needed they
He had,
needed him 2 weeks ago. Last week they really needed
yeah,
Popovich.
yeah, go Knicks. Um,
I don't think it'll stop them.
no,
Brunson's on a
no,
different
he's a
tier
best
right now,
closer in
bro.
the game. Best closer in the game.
Honestly, gosh, he's so
Um,
good.
But Popovich, before practice, before the whistle blew, he was making some kind of physical contact with every single player. He had a
Hmm.
different pre-game, pre-practice routine with Duncan, then Ginobili, then Parker, and but it was all physical contact. And so that's been my thing of like, all right, before every leader steps in to serve tonight, they are going to have moments where they've locked eyes with me, where I am seeing them, where more than just like seeing them across the room, there's a physical contact of I'm dapping them up, I'm handshaking, I'm high-fiving, like
Hmm.
I'm giving them a
It's
hug,
really good.
whatever the relationship looks like. Those are the little things where I'm like, hey, are you guys standing at the door still? They're like, oh yeah, sometimes. Like, wait, hold on.
Hmm.
These are the
Hmm.
nuances. This is
Hmm.
how you build culture. So
So
when
hard,
we
bro.
talk about those little gaps between, again, if they picked it up at step 5, they know how to lead a big ministry, but I'm
Yes.
trying to make sure they know how to lead a small ministry within that big ministry.
Mm.
Here's the foundations. And it all comes back to the talents, parable of the talents. Hey, do with one excellence before you get 2, before you get 3. So I'm just making sure in this season, hey, again, I trust you
Mm.
to lead the big ministry. I trust you to lead the small ministry, but let's just get very practical and minute with here's how we've built this up. So hopefully that answers your question.
Jordan, I think you would agree with this because we both like preached and been a part of their ministry. Um, Anthony Anthony will like never talk about himself or anything like that, and he should more because he's just
He's a
he,
guru, bro.
he is like what is amazing about what you said with Greg Popovich was that the players had physical contact with them, and then they trusted like
Yeah,
the way he led them professionally. Do you know what I mean? So it came to like the systems of his of the way he desired for them to play basketball. And there is a physical contact that you make with JJ and with Matt, and they trust the system that you've given them.
yeah,
Like it's so funny because they don't run wild and free. They run within the system that you've given them, and it's now your responsibility to get into the things that they're starting to ignore because they have not built a system for a large youth ministry yet. You trust them, you believe in them, you've empowered them, but
yeah,
they themselves have not built the floor that you let them stand on. And
yeah,
so it's things like, are you still at the door? No. Why? Why? Do you know what I mean? And they may feel annoyed by that conversation, but that conversation builds in them like something that they will understand 10 years down the road,
yeah,
8 years
yeah,
down the road, when they themselves are doing it to the person under them that doesn't do the thing that they,
yeah,
tweaked or added to your system. But
yeah,
I will say this, if you're someone who needs to focus, do you know what I mean? Or have a conversation about systems and processes, like I've sat in meetings with Anthony. I know Jordan has been a part of them where he's pulled out spreadsheets and I'm like, this is beautiful. Like
Yeah.
this is so clean. Do you know what I mean? Like this is so clear. I could step in tomorrow for you and know the
Yeah.
things that need to happen in this ministry so that
mm,
I can pastor people well because
mm,
the fence around me is very clear that you built for them. So I mean,
thank you,
again,
thank
I'm not, Jordan and I aren't surprised that they've increased, you know what I mean, in numbers by 100,
Yeah.
150, 200 people
you.
because, first of all, there's 2 of them. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right, that
Uh,
helps.
Yeah, where one could reach 1,000, two can reach 10,000. Like that's scriptural, and
I
you're
think that's
seeing it.
about marriage, but yeah.
Okay, well, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I
Let
didn't
me
know you guys
share.
were doing that down at Loco, so.
I mean, let's not start rumors or anything. You can ask them about their brotherhood they have.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not roommates, are they?
not anymore, not anymore. Actually, wait, no, they are right now. They are right now. Mm.
Check in on that.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I need to go pastor that. I need to go make sure they're good.
ridiculous.
Let me give you a shadow
Oh,
side to that, though. I need to be careful right now that I have not done all the failing for this ministry. We talked
Mm,
about, 20s and doing your 20s well. I failed
mm,
a ton because I was the guy for
dude.
so long. I have found it's the Edison light bulb thing. Like, I have
mm,
failed 10,000 times to get to the right thing. For
Right.
them, hey, here's the right thing. Okay, well, why is that the right thing? And they, in their youthfulness, they could say, well, I want to test the waters. Like a prodigal son, I'm going to go test. I'm going to go make sure that there's not
yeah,
something better. Well, and maybe there is. Like, if there is, make it better for sure. But
yeah.
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out in this season, not just how to give them the right answers, but how to give them space to fail.
Dude.
Mm. That's a bar, dude.
I literally, Anthony, I literally ran into this last week because I just brought on 5 interns. 2 of them are residents who signed like 2 years with us.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
we
Okay.
wanted to relaunch our YA ministry. And for us, it's Wellspring Young Adults. They come in, they're like, we want to give it a name that's unattached to the church so we can reach people outside the church. So they come in on their first day, they're like, we want to rebrand this. Now, let me tell you, when I walked into Lifegate, what was it? Like Life Youth. I think when I showed up, I was like, my first day, I was like, that's Lifegate students. We're rebranding. When I was 24, I walked in and Narup Alfonso was like, yeah, go for it. Build it. Like, it's got to
Mm.
feel like you.
Yeah.
And now they just did it to me. And in my heart, bro, I was like, no, with like Wellspring Young Adults, like
Yeah.
Wellspring Young Adults, and they're like the Cove, the Cove, the Cove. I'm like, the heck is the Cove? Like,
Yeah.
and in me, bro, me and my wife got in a debate about it on Friday. They had their launch event. And
Mhm.
I was like, should I? And she was like, we need to go to their event and support them. And I was like, yes, but if I'm there, they're going to rely on me and
Mm.
they're not going to be able to fail and figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I showed up in the beginning, I prayed for them, and I like made sure they had a few things in order that they needed, and I left. After the event, I called one of the leaders of it. I'm talking to him, and he was like, there were 2 points in the night that I didn't know what to do, and I had to figure it out. And he said, and I turned around looking for you to help me. And it was his first time preaching, his first time leading. And he was
Yeah.
like, but then I realized I was on my own and I had to figure it out. And I figured it out. And
Yeah.
actually, in that moment, the Holy Spirit did something in him and he led a
Mm.
prayer that multiple people came forward. And it was, and they were like, who told you? That's exactly what I needed tonight.
Wow.
That they hadn't received prayer on our Wednesday night prayer service. And they regretted not going up. And he gets on the mic and he was like, somebody here
Mm.
didn't receive prayer Wednesday and you need to come up tonight. And everyone comes flooding forward. They're like, I should have came up on Wednesday. And I gave him space to fail, but I debated it all week last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
All week. I'm like, how do I let them fail? And I'm also mad at you for rebranding my ministry. But you need to do it. Like you need
Yeah.
to run
Yeah.
it. So I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you said that because never have I had somebody under me that I need to start trusting what God's doing in them.
Mm.
Because it's not all about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not about all about what God put on my heart.
Yeah. Mm.
Two things. The first one is I actually knew you didn't name that, and I'm not joking. I was going to call you and be like, "Why did you approve this?" But you know me. Like you could go through our tech threads, Jordan, and people would think I'm like, I'm just nitpicky, dude. Like that's the kind of stuff that matters to me
Yeah.
deeply, and I'm like, I can tell that he did not name this, and
Yeah.
I can tell he gave freedom. Do you know what I mean? And I want to know why. It was just a learning thing, and I hadn't even texted you about it, but I am
That's
not
so fun.
kidding.
That's
I
hilarious.
was like, who did this? And the second thing is,
To me, it's so like late 90s. Like we're gonna like this
it
is
is.
come to my
It
youth
is.
ministry, thrive.
Right. Right.
Or like underground youth ministries. Brother, we're not underground. We're in the kids wing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we should have named it Kids Wing Youth Ministry. You
Right.
know what I mean, or something like that. And the second thing is as you're trusting. Do you know what I mean? People to operate in their, you know what I mean, giftings and um, within their own selves within your ministry. He knew to do that because he's watched you, and
Mhm.
so it's like if you're listening to this and you're in like a leadership role where you're a leader of leaders and not just, do you know what I mean, a pastor of people, like do not undersell every single thing that you do that is public, because people are watching and they are going to replicate what they see. And so he was able to replicate what you do because I've watched your services. I've watched you on a microphone. I've watched you at your worship nights. He operated in the culture that you're building in your church. So you didn't just give him space to fail. You gave him space to honor the culture of the house.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It's beautiful. And I've seen, Anthony, you and I have been a part of these movement nights, and Anthony gave them the space to change an event he had been doing in March that reached this. And I watched them, what did they do? 2.5 exit this last March, and they changed it.
I was so annoyed. I was so annoyed at that.
That's annoying, bro, because March Madness was the best.
Bro, that literally wrote a blog on that one. That's how good it was. I've written like 4 blogs.
It was gas. It was gas, bro. It was gas.
Also, Anthony was totally just building an event so he could hoop in front of all of his friends like once a year.
Here's the thing. Yes. And then recruit Jordan, who's like 6'5", to come down and be on my team. I said, Matt, you get the first 2 picks of the draft if I get Jordan. He said, okay, that was a mistake. He should not have.
We also beat him by like 30 when we.
Dude, when you got the reps going against you and like publicly saying that, and we're still up by like 20, then that's how you know. Like, yeah. But I mean, hey, building a student ministry that I want to be a part of back in the day, and I still want to be a part of now, and I'm still actually sad that I'm not a part of right now. So it accomplished it.
So okay, so let's talk about this before we end. 2 things. What are the things that you guys are ambitious about now? Okay, ambitious about the, you know what I mean, in the way that you would desire God to use you within the church. And then the second thing is how would you like encourage, or what would you say to someone in their 20s that are looking at leading a ministry, rebuilding a ministry, do you know what I mean? Completely building one from the ground up, that might be like passionate or frustrated, do you know what I mean? Or like you said, like your pastor's covering you, but you know what I mean, you're taking shots at your pastor. Like, first tell us, what are you ambitious about that you desire God to do through you, and how are you building that into your life? Like, how are you preparing for that? How are you practicing, so to speak? You know what I mean? And then what would you leave with somebody? You know what I mean? Like, what would you say? Hey, if we were to get, you know what I mean, coffee or whatever, or food, or go hoop, this is what I would want to pour into.
I'm answering those in reverse.
Okay.
When it comes to building from the ground up, I just gave advice to a new youth pastor about a week or 2 ago. Just moved out to Texas, and he's from my hometown.
Nice.
First, he was a football coach, and I was like, bro, you've already got it. You're used to leading people. You're used to being with students. I was like, God's already put it in you, so now just go be that. Go be with people. Like that. That's it. Like, you can. This is where it's kind of translated for me into preaching. I don't want to preach an idea. I want to preach what that single mom who just went through a divorce is actually walking through right now, because I know who that single mom is. Not even know who she is. I know her. We're not preaching ideas. We're not preaching philosophies. We're not preaching the generalized thing that you read about in a commentary. Like, that is good and it is true. However, pastoral ministry, smelling like sheep, looks like actually walking with people, knowing people, and that way you can actually preach to their needs. So, and more than just preaching, you can serve their needs and love them through what they need in that season. So the new youth pastor, it's the cliche stuff that we try to make overly complicated because we see our favorite preachers rebrand things and make cool merch and do all the public things that look really awesome, post a preaching clip. Like, no, you actually need to go sit with people as you're building a ministry. It doesn't even matter what stage you're in. If you've been a youth pastor for 3 or 5 years, great. You still need to be sitting with people that are in your ministry. You still need to be sitting with Jordan. I heard this. I'm giving away one of your secrets. You gave this to JJ. He gave it to me. I'm giving it away. Having what'd you call it? Like a parent board, where it was like a board of parents that can speak into the ministry, especially if you're young. You don't have kids. You don't have a family. You don't know what you're doing.
Unbelievable idea.
I did it in my last 6 months, and it was the best thing I ever did as a youth pastor. And I was a youth pastor.
So good.
I was a youth pastor for 8 years, and in the last 6 months, I put together a parent board who helped me make decisions that would affect parents.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, we're going to camp. How can kids have their phones? Hey, how many kids should we put in a room in a hotel? How many leaders do we need for this? Hey, how should we fundraise? What night of the week should we add this event? Like, all of a sudden, when my parents are complaining about something, I'm like, wait, so we pushed this through our parent board and we have 7 parents on board who helped us make that decision. They defended me and encouraged other parents of my credibility. They helped me make big decisions. They helped me fundraise. They poured into my volunteers who were pouring into their kids.
Insane.
Bro, it changed the entire ministry when I
Yeah.
did that.
Insane. That's why when JJ told me, I was like, start it today. Get it going now. Like, you need
And
this now.
like these guys are 24.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your 45-year-old parents want to know that you have some credibility.
Yeah.
So now when you have 5-6 parents that are talking to other parents saying, oh, I actually sit with JJ monthly. I sit with this 24-year-old pastor monthly. They're so wise. And you know what? They're humble enough to they really care about what our families need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, game changer.
Dude, and that's so interesting because like the parent board negates the where's Pastor Anthony?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
When the parent wants to overstep those that are leading the youth ministry now, which is JJ and Matt. No. We have a parent board here. And so, do you know what I mean? If you want to talk through something, you know, we have a parent board who has helped us make this decision. They are more than welcome to have this conversation with you. It is, oh my Lord, that is so good. That is good, bro.
That's like that's
that
so
makes
funny
my
that
mind just go. That is so good.
Yeah. That's where I get mad. Where I'm like, I never did this. Dang it. So
somebody needs to take that.
They're gonna get it going.
Dude.
Yeah, everyone needs to take that. If you lead Student Minute, you need to take that.
Jesus, good, bro.
So back to it. If you're new, if you're relaunching, if you're launching, you need to be with people. You need to be with your students.
Not even new. Anthony,
Right.
You've already encouraged them. Encourage that person that's like 6 years in. That's like 26. That's like 27. That's kind of like, because I remember talking to you when you were, do you know what I mean? Like 28, 29, and the feeling that you were feeling of like uncertain does not fully describe what you were feeling. But it's like, what does the Lord have for me next? Because I think it's here, but there's no clarity there. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever. And then, what was it, 2 years later, there was an immense amount of clarity about how you were going to take the next step within the church. And because you stayed faithful and you led and prayed and had conversations through those feelings. Do you know what I mean? And you were open with them to Jordan. You were open with them to me, and you were open with them to the other mentors that you have in your life. Like Jordan and I are friends, but I know you have mentors that you were processing these feelings that you were like. Walk someone through that, because I'm not going to lie. A lot of the conversations I'm having with pastors right now are those kind of conversations. They're 27, they're 28, they're 29. They're still very young. I don't care what anybody says, bro. Early 30s, you're as young as mess. Mid 30s, dog. You have majority of your life to live. But they're in their later stages of their 20s, and they're like, I just don't know. Is this still it? Do you know what I mean? Is this place it? Do you know what I mean? If it is, what's the different? What's the way that I can serve this house? Do you know what I mean? So talk somebody through that.
Dude, I had a life-changing trip. I got to go to the Holy Land with a group of pastors, and I came back. Obviously, I told everybody there was 3 things. It was.
He texted me. He was like, "Are you going?" And I was like, "Did you text me this on purpose? Like, what do you mean?
Hey, bro, are you gonna just be in Israel tomorrow?
Are you, dude? Are you in Israel?" I'm like, what?
You pulling up?
No, dude.
Listen, I was
I'm in Maryland.
hoping you would be there. I don't know. I didn't know who was on that trip. I was just trying to get a feel. Wish you guys were there. Been amazing. So we got to hang out in Bluffton, just as good. But what I discovered, I probably could have discovered in Bluffton. So, I obviously got to learn about the Holy Land, that kind of thing. Understood the geopolitical climate that's really helped navigate over these last few years. Some of those conversations, all that was cool. But I realized during that time, I was with some of the, we would all say, some of the best youth pastors in the nation. A lot of those guys are taking churches and campus pastors and doing crazy things right now. I didn't know a lot of them, so getting in that room just with some of I was on the phone with 2 of those guys this morning, like gave me some of my best friends. But I realized something, and I was just about to turn 30, or I just turned 30. And my youth staff was calling me old. They just kept joking about that. And I was like, dang, am I getting too old for this? This is a young man's game. Am I done with this? Do I need to figure out what I do next? There's not really a role on staff that I know of right now. Like, I'll start processing it with my XP. And I believe that's a good step. Like, have the open conversations with your executive pastor, with your oversight. Like, don't try to make these in silos. And I would also ask the question, and as I'm telling the story, where is that pressure coming from? Is it internal? Right. Is it external? Is it from the Lord? Right. Is really the thing you got to discern. Right. And on that time, again, I was feeling old, turned 30. I go on this trip there's about 20 of us, and I was the 3rd youngest guy on the trip. And when I look around at some of the guys whose names you would recognize, it's like, oh, they are some of the best because they've had longevity. They're some of the best because, like, man, they have kids now and they are parents now. Therefore, they can make some of these decisions that I would not have understood that for a minute. They had been to the game. It made mistakes. They had seen some things. So it was in that season where I felt like the Lord was like, "Hey, listen, I'm not calling you to do anything, to go anywhere, to do anything extra, but get secure in the season that I have you in." And Jordan, you said it earlier. It's all about assignments. I'm in a
Yeah.
season right now where it's all about assignments. I believe that
Yeah.
the Lord's not going to open the next door, and that door can be defined in so many ways. I hope I'm not going anywhere for a long time. I love my church, but
Yeah.
I know my next 2 or 3 assignments that are overlapping a little bit, where it's like I don't expect anything new
Yep. Yep.
until I'm done with this and until I've completed this. That it's the work that my oversight has given me. Of like, hey, we want you to build this discipleship pathway for the church. Great, I'd love to. What an honor. Hey, you're going to serve on the teaching team under Pastor Jeff. Amazing. What an honor. Like you're going to get to help build the leadership pipeline for our church. So cool. So until those 2 or 3
Dude, and
things,
all that came like that. Do you remember
yeah,
that? It was
yeah.
like years of like,
Well,
God,
and I'll
what
say
are you
this too.
doing?
This
And
has been like
bam, 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 bam.
the craziest thing. Uh, the way God works, it's on His own timing, and it's typically a disruption. It's a disruption of my plans, not His. Where like I could create this pathway of like, here's what I think's gonna happen. Let me try to
Yeah.
map out my life, but like God is gonna disrupt those plans with what He has for you. Therefore, my life right now and always is a stay ready type of situation where like I'm staying in the Word. I'm not just like, okay, this is the season where I need to really study theology, be in the Word. Like, no, that is a constant daily drips of theology, daily drips of just time in the Word, daily drips of time in God's presence, because I want to stay ready. Last year, I'll tell the story, then I'll be done. I'm getting a little long-winded. Last year, my
It's
lead
good, bro.
pastor
It's
went
good.
down with blood clots, and he was out for 7 weeks. And I found out on a Saturday morning that I was preaching Sunday. I found out
Remember
Monday
this?
morning that I was going to be preaching indefinitely. And the Lord had placed on my heart, beginning of the year, hey, listen, I want you to get healthy in all areas. And therefore, when that time came, I was like, great, I'm ready. And got up there, and people said it got better each week. I got more comfortable. I got used to that rhythm. And it was from just remaining healthy and staying ready. I was ready for the disruption. I was ready for God to shift some things. So I was being faithful with what I had in my hand at that time, and at the same time was prepared for God to do whatever He wanted to do. So that way, my toddlers right now,
Ready for the disruption. That's
they
so
hate
good.
changing rooms. They hate moving into what's next and transition. I've been ready for transition, whatever that looks like, because I'm just ready in a general way.
That's so
Very
powerful.
good. Yeah, I kept seeing Anthony preach in main stage Sunday morning. I'm like, is he the lead pastor? Did I miss a step here?
I was having to clarify a
That's
lot of things with people. It's like, hey, no, just lead pastor sick.
Just
I'm
yeah.
just filling in. That's my
Just
assignment.
my
Like,
assignment. Not
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
just my assignment. Yeah, dude, that's amazing. 28. Like you guys are the guys getting later into youth ministry. I think some of the best youth pastors in the country are over 40.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's so I wrestled with this because I was like, is that me? And what I learned was that just wasn't what God had for me.
yeah,
Like there's some guys that God has that for.
Yeah.
And that's incredible because that's your assignment, because these are the people that you're called to reach. And we just I think we so easily just get caught up in the system of what we believe ministry will be because of the people that we watch. And it's a comparison game again of like,
yeah,
am I aging out of this ministry? And it's like Jesus was like 33 and he was still like, let the children come to me. And he was still in children's ministry at 33. You know what I mean? And he's still in children's ministry to this day.
yeah,
Yeah.
And the reality is like, man, it's an assignment, it's a calling. It's not about like, getting up the corporate ladder, which
Yeah.
in turn now tells me churches need to be better at equipping and resourcing the guys who are willing to stay in that lane for
Yep.
so
yeah,
long.
yeah,
Because churches are like, hey, no, the youth pastor range is like 60 to 70,000 or like 70 to 80,000. And it's like, well, hold on, because you want this guy to stay with you, but he also just had his third kid and he also needs to pay his mortgage and he has a wife. And like, so churches need to realize like, no, there's value in keeping youth pastors. One of
yeah,
the reasons that youth pastors scale out of their ministries is because they can't afford to stay in that position anymore. And then we wonder why youth pastoring is like a free agency market.
It
right,
And it's
is.
because guys aren't being taken care of and resourced, that if they were a worship pastor, a discipleship pastor, or some sort of associate or executive leader, that they could be in another organization, they would be getting more money to do what they do. So
yeah,
now we're all chasing to be Mike Todd's next youth pastor and to be Stephen Furtick's next youth pastor. And everyone's chasing because why? They want to be a youth pastor and they need the check to provide for their family.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
And you're
like,
having like hiring agencies create lists of tiers of what youth pastors make because
yes,
the requests that come in from the churches that are like, yeah, our youth pastor needs to do all of this. Oh yeah, and we can pay him 42 grand. And it's like,
yeah,
brother, what?
right.
Do you
Well,
know what I mean?
Yeah.
he's a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
wait, you don't think it's valuable? Like I'm pretty
Mm.
sure 70, I think it's like 70 to 80% of people get saved before they're
Yeah.
16.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
70% of the Christians in America got saved before they're like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And then you like, so we're spending all the money on the people who are giving us money in the the older congregation is who
Mm.
pays your tithes.
Mm.
But all of your salvific work is happening in the next gen ministries.
Mm.
So the question
Jeez.
is like we're where are we investing our the resources into? And I would even say that the older people who are investing into your church probably want to see a move of God in the next
Yeah.
generation
Yeah.
They
also.
do.
Yeah.
Typically,
Yep.
yes.
Like they're investing so that their grandkids could meet Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then
Yeah.
we're giving them a youth pastor who's, hey, you just got 2 years out of ministry school and it's not even an accredited university and we can pay you 40 grand to do this. And that's who we're giving them, where our greatest investment should be into them.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't have a soapbox about that though,
Right.
you know.
Oh man, that's so good. Like I'm okay. I haven't like I. This is the third podcast episode I've recorded. I actually haven't even promoted like what we offer at Young Pastor Network in the other two, but I think it's like a very easy opportunity for me to do that. It's one of the reasons why we started what we started. Like I desire to bless the church, do you know what I mean? By building those who feel called to build the church and to bless pastors so that they do not have to go create another side gig to make supplemental income. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because majority, like 99.7% of pastors do not make like hefty salaries. And it's okay for these guys to want to, make advancements in their you know what I mean, in their financial state. Like the comment that you made, Jordan, is like they need to pay their mortgage. No, they need to be able to invest in a Roth IRA so they can retire with a 7-figure amount. They can't do that on 56,000. Dave Ramsey cannot help them. Do you know what I mean? Like it's sure he can help them. Do you know what I mean
Right.
on budgeting for groceries, but that is like a 0.6% of their, you know what I mean, earnings on a monthly basis. It's that you should desire your younger staff to be there for 8 to 10 to 12 years, and the vacations that they can take with their spouse and their children get better and better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it isn't so that they can wear nicer clothes or drive nicer cars, and if they make the right money moves, they probably will, and who cares? You know what I mean? Like people can spend money on what they like. Do you know what I mean? Like let them be free. But it's this like weird thing that we shouldn't even have conversations about. Yeah, let's raise the pastor salary so they can pay their normal bills. No, it's so that they don't have to think about leaving.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I can't tell you how many conversations I have with people who like can't get $4,000 in an entire year approved to make a personal investment with them by people that would get hired over them if they were available for their position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At their church. Like
It's hard.
it's insane to me
Yeah.
that we want to complain about the length of a tenure of a youth pastor, and you won't even have a conversation about an investment that doesn't even cost you $500 a month over 12 months.
I'm
It's
a
like,
shameless plug.
what's
My
the
church.
disconnect?
Hey, I'm the product of my church taking care of me for years. My biggest thing, I probably said it to you guys, both of you, like I've
Yeah.
never had to think about money. I'm not rich, but I've never had to
Yeah, you
think about
told me
money.
that. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and even more than the dollar amount, it's been the healthcare stuff. It's been little things like that to where I don't have to worry. And shameless plug, we're hiring, so hit me up.
YA pastor.
Yeah,
Also,
Yeah, I was gonna
come on.
say, is he a
Anthony to say that healthcare has been helpful. He's got like 15 kids or
Got
something.
all the
does.
kids,
He
so many
does.
Save a
kids.
church
He
man, bro.
So they've
Bro,
used that
No,
resource.
literally, we are about to buy a Transit. That was about to be our next car.
I don't blame you. I've
Nah,
actually asked. I pitched the Mercedes Sprinter to my wife, but that's just because like I'm annoying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes, I understand.
Hey, when my kids are 12, that's what we're getting. Saving up now.
Yeah. Only if you get in Dave Ramsey's program.
Honestly.
But Anthony, you are a great example of what happens when a church is willing to invest
Yes.
in their next gen ministries and the young leaders that they want to see for the future.
Yeah.
Like right now, I've got a couple young people that I'm like, I want you here for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And what do I need to do? I need to show them that I want them.
Yeah.
Like I need to give them the opportunity at my church that they wouldn't have to go somewhere else to get.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us like I've Thomas, I know you've been in that season. I've been in a season where like, man, I wouldn't be looking at this opportunity somewhere else if I was better taken care of where I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I could just focus here, but you know, I'm having trouble at home because I can't be all here because I need to focus
Mm.
on a second income of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we need to take care of our pastors, man. We need to take care of the young people. That's where our investment needs to be. I think my pastor in Denver did a great job of helping prioritize youth ministry with me, and like giving youth shout outs on Sunday mornings and stuff that were in the building. Like that stuff just goes so far for the culture. So yeah, those young guys that are looking like, do I need to be somewhere else? Like the conversation you might need to have is like, hey, pastor, I need to make decisions for my career and for where I'm walking with my family. And I love it here and I want to be here. And I don't believe I'm aging out of this, but I'm getting priced out of this.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
like the reality is like my calling still feels here, my assignment still feels here, my gifting still feels here. You should feel no pressure to go find another job because you got to make money, because that's not kingdom minded.
Yeah.
That's really not kingdom minded. But if your church also isn't kingdom minded in that way, they will force you into a position where you have to do that.
Yeah.
And you need to really seek the Lord, because God's not going to release you from that assignment unless there's another assignment on the other side that he's calling you into to care for your family better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, we're gonna have I think the next conversation that we have is gonna be about this. Do you know what I mean? A little bit more too, because I think that there's just some healthy conversations around this as three people on this call that have probably made more than like the most, or the, you know what I mean, the average youth pastor. You know what I mean? And how we got there, and how the really tough conversations that we've had to have. Even
Come
some
to
of the
our
conversations.
next podcast where you can learn to make money as a
There
youth
you
pastor.
go. That was yes.
No, but I'm being serious. Like I wish I was not joking when I say the questions that the clients that I have and that the
Yeah.
clients that you guys
Mm.
have want to ask me is like, should I feel bad for wanting to make more than 48 grand? And
Yeah.
I'm like, why do you feel bad asking that question?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
it's going to take you 60 years to scale to $100,000.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like
Which in
churches are pricing.
2026
That's what I'm
is
saying.
nothing.
It's
Right.
I think
nothing.
Right.
that's part of what's happening too, is these you know, a lot of our older pastors were, when they were 25 and they were making 30 grand, they were very happy, because now they're
Yeah.
65 and they have
Mm.
their house, they have their 401k, they have a lot of their
Their
stuff
rent was
set.
400 a month.
Right.
400.
And now, like, yeah, you can't do that because the cost of living is so high, and the cost, and then what we're getting paid is the same. So it's really difficult to be young in ministry right now. And you're like, man, I have guys that are literally, that I'm talking to, that are questioning if they should go into ministry because
Mhm.
they don't
Mhm.
want the financial burden of being in ministry, because they can't build a life on it.
Mm.
And then I also know pastors who literally, like, I know guys who are called to missions right now in my life that I'm close with, who literally wake up every day and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to eat, but the Lord blesses it
But the
along the
Lord
way.
provides.
And
So what
like,
can the balance be? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's, oh man, Jesus. See,
I
that's
have a
kind of,
couple in my life right now who doesn't have a paycheck and has paid their rent for 8 months straight and eaten every day and has everything that they need. And they wake up and pray every morning, and like they're just they're missionaries from Brazil and Chile, and they're just like, God, like we just rely on you. And God's people literally just show up and give them money every day. It's insane. And they're living their
I
life,
don't
and
know. You didn't just know, you just didn't like nullify your point, but
I did.
you no, you didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You
Youth
didn't.
pastors,
Like,
pray more.
yeah,
Pray
Use
more.
little
pray
faith.
more, expect more,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean, prepare more and fast more. No, but I do think like that's what I mean when I say let's have a conversation about
Yeah.
this, Jordan
Yeah.
and Anthony, because like both of you stayed faithful and you could have made more other places. Do you know what I mean? And like I'm a product of like not currently, but in my 20s I bounced around because I believed that the next opportunity was the better opportunity,
Mm.
always finding out that that wasn't the truth. You know what I mean? So I don't think that that's wise. But I did had to
Right.
have healthy conversations with my church twice, two different ones on pay, And they met me with such grace,
Mm,
such honesty, and blessing.
mm,
And that's because I said, here's how I'm budgeting. Do you know what I mean? Here's what I desire. Do you know what I mean? To do at this church. And then the greater conversation here is like there was fruit being produced in the ministry. So it wasn't like nothing was happening, nothing was
Yeah.
growing. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
I'm a problem. And then like I'm also asking for this. Like I
Right.
think that, you know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
it as well? But I do believe the thing that I deeply desire to communicate is to make the investment in your staff. And if the investment has to be coaching, then do it. Do you know what I mean? Because we prepare them to stay. I have never communicated to someone to leave. I will never communicate to someone to leave unless they call me and they're like, "This is morally or ethically," you know what I mean? The thing that's happening in our church or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do. I'm really grateful that you guys started that conversation. We're
Mm.
gonna end it here. But I love you guys so much. Can you tell people where they can find you on social media? Tell them you're at so they can DM you, maybe have a conversation. I can't remember your guys' ats off the top of my head. Probably should have been prepared for that.
Neither can I, but
It's okay. You can literally just type in Jordan Arce on Instagram. Most
yeah.
people don't have the last name
Jordan, I
Arce.
think it's Jordan Arce _ ARCE is my last name. Church is NJ Wellspring at the Jersey Shore. Go follow the Cove YA.
The Cove. Meet me at the Cove.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Anthony.
Yeah, mine's just my name, Anthony Lucarini. Last name Lucarini. I'm a fake Italian. We'll talk about that later. DM me on that. And Low Country CC is my church, the church I serve at.
Go Knicks.
Sweet.
Go
Go
Knicks.
Knicks. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.
Love you, bro.
Peace.